Started, we just wanted to take a quick second to introduce you to the podcast sponsor for this week, Ibis UK.
Are you a maker looking to sell your creations across the country or internationally? Shipping can be a complex process, but there is a solution.
And Ibis is that solution. Ibis are a specialist art handling and shipping company, and their whole goal is to simplify shipping and provide you, the maker, with complete peace of mind.
Yeah, Ibis take care of everything from pickup to professional packing and accurate documentation. They handle customs and regulations, so you don't have to.
With Ibis, you can trust their experienced team to ensure smooth and secure delivery. They offer tailored solutions, and their primary goal is simply to make shipping simple.
You can visit ibis.co.uk today and start your stress-free shipping journey with Ibis, your trusted partner in shipping.
Ready to start? You ever done anything like this before?
No.
So it's no
I mean, I've done interview before, video interview, but I had like questions beforehand. They were super cheesy.
Yeah.
It's like when you messaged last night and we're like, is there any questions? I'm like, no. Like, this is no different to what we've been doing all morning anyway. So, first off, we're here with Alisha Koppert, ceramicist. Ceramicist, potter, what do you prefer?
I use them interchangeably. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think what's important to say is what attracted us to your work is I don't see many people using a kick wheel anymore, which I want to get into later on. So the first question is, who is Alisha Koppert?
I am a potter, ceramicist. I'm a mom of 4 kids, and my husband and I homeschool them, so that's a huge part of our life. And then pottery has sort of grown into a thing for me. I started really early in high school and just kind of kept coming around to it again. In different places, different ways. And then,
Did you ever imagine back then that you would be doing this, you know, full time? When you picked it up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I felt like it was something I loved. I enjoyed it. I've always tried to do a lot of things myself. You know? I'm definitely a DIYer, so I guess, but I didn't know that it would become the thing that I chose, you know. I just have so many interests that I've always been a bit all over the place. I hear making different things, you know.
I know.
And then being at home with the kids, wanting to teach them a lot of different skills, you know. I never really thought I would zone in on something so much.
That makes sense.
Like I have with pottery.
Yeah. What do you think it was about being a potter that you did zone in on? Like, why this?
That's a good question. I think, first of all, just the time and space kind of opened up for me to do this in particular. It was coming here to this community space was, you know, outside of my home. I was leaving my home life, you know, coming here, doing this by myself. It started as kind of getting a little bit of a breathing space. But then I was given the kick wheel from a friend who found it in her barn. And from then I was like, I actually want to spend, you know, afternoons out here with the kids. They play, I make pots, or they make pots. You know, I've taught them a lot about pottery, and they just get involved too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening or watching, we're obviously in the community space where you do your firings and a lot of kiln and your classes as well, which I want to talk about. But where we just were, which we'll be posting footage of, that's a little hut in your garden, and that's got your kick wheel.
Yeah.
And the kick wheel, I think, was one of the surprising things to me. Like we said, that's kind of what attracted us to your style of pottery.
And I got a wee try of it. Thank you very much.
Kate got a little try of it, which was cool.
It was good fun.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
And why do you think that style of pottery is so much more attractive to you?
Couple of reasons. So I had only ever thrown on electric wheels when I was learning. When I joined a potter's guild in Alberta, where we lived previously, and I only ever used electric wheels. I hadn't done that much research into the history of pottery at that point, and so I didn't even know that people used kick wheels before. You know, I imagined something like that, but I just didn't have that as part of my knowledge. So when I was given this kick wheel, I wanted to try it right away, obviously. And I felt like it was easier in some ways, harder in some ways, but I really like the pace of it.
Me too.
The fact that you're just, kicking it. It doesn't go super fast like the electric wheel does, and you don't have a motor pushing against you that whole time. It responds to my pressure, my touch, and when I press on the clay, it slows down. I have to kick it again, and so I feel a lot more in tune with the whole process. It's a full body experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would you recommend other people to look at that maybe prior to trying an electric wheel, or how does that?
I don't know. I guess if you haven't used an electric wheel, you wouldn't know the difference necessarily. I think a lot of people do start on an electric wheel though, because that's what's most common.
Yeah, that
now.
seems to just be the most common thing, isn't it? We got a chance to try in Nashville with Old School Farm Pottery, the electric wheels, and like I was saying to you this morning, the electric wheels didn't really faze me being bigger and being able to push it, but you really struggled with it.
Yeah, I thought I was just like too fast, too many things going on. Like, I don't know. I just much prefer that style. It was sort of like more relaxed.
I totally understand the additional feedback you get from it. I totally get that. Do you think that drives what you design when you're doing pottery? Can you get different stuff out of that compared to feels like you'd be able to get a bit more finesse in a kick wheel than you would a...
Maybe. I think it depends. I can get what I want off an electric wheel, but I do tend, when I use an electric wheel, I tend to use the slower settings just because that's what I prefer now.
Right, okay.
And yeah, it's a little more irregular. My kick wheel has a little wobble, like I was saying earlier. So I've learned to adjust my movements to that and my pressure to that. And so the pots come out a little bit wonky sometimes, maybe more so than they would on the electric wheel. But on the electric wheel, I find it easier to get thrown off center. So because it's going faster, or because I'm, a little more quick in my movement, or so, yeah, it depends.
That's one thing I definitely noticed on the kick wheel. Centering it was way more accurate, like way more accurate to centre it. And I wondered, well, it would make sense that is just because of a fuel thing, but with the electric wheel, and again, I'm a Luddite when it comes to pottery, like I don't know what I'm talking about.
This is the first time I've tried.
It definitely felt like you could, and it looked like you got that as well. It felt like you could really get it in centre and start moving it. From a beginner's point of view, it made sense.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know, but I wonder if that has something to do with the wheel slowing down and the inward pressure. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, no, I could see that, because it is slow. Like if it's really off centre, you're effectively braking it with your hands, aren't you? Your hands are effectively brakes, whereas on the electric wheel, if it's off centre, it just keeps hammering at you. It just keeps pushing at you, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's a good time to talk about the classes and the teaching, because you do a lot of teaching. In fact, Christopher Jones, who we were with yesterday, him and his wife were actually really excited that we were coming to see you because they wanted to take one of your classes.
Oh, cool.
So how is the classes all fitted into your making?
I started doing classes just because I wanted to involve my kids in pottery, and they had friends who were like, we want to do pottery too, Yeah. So I started with kids classes, and then I started doing some classes here. They do a free intro class for members, so I was
really cool.
as a member myself, and someone with more experience than most of the people who were coming through, I started teaching that intro class. And then as I got more of a following on Instagram and just local people knowing about me a bit more, I started doing adult classes too. So yeah, it just kind of grew from
nothing.
that idea. Yeah.
And as a maker, do you think that's quite important to supplement your income, having the classes? Is that something that you guys charge out for here? Is that you're paid to do the classes, obviously, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so that must be a good supplement to
So
your
my
income.
classes are now just organized by me. I rent the space here.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
And then
You fill the spaces.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've been selling out the classes, which is great.
Really?
But there are only 6 wheels, so I can only have 5 people, in a wheel class.
That's good that they're always booked up. That's what you
Yeah.
want. Yeah, it's good to
Yeah.
know there's an interest for people wanting to learn a craft.
Yeah, and it feels like that's a good number as well. Like to
It
only
is.
have 5. It'd be
Sometimes
easy
I
to
do like a hand building class at the tables, and often even then I'm wishing I had a smaller class, because
Yeah.
I think beginners need more one-on-one
Yeah.
interaction with
Like
the
me.
teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the real one-on-one experience this morning.
Yeah.
But
Do you-
with the smaller classes, people are a lot more successful usually in their
Yeah.
first try. Or I generally do 2 class sessions so that they can come back to it again.
Okay.
They're not just doing a one-off thing, because it's harder than it looks, like you were
yes.
saying earlier. And if you try it once and you don't feel like you really got it that first time, often just sleeping on it for a week and coming back and trying it again, your hands have more of a feel for it, and
Right.
you can get a better
Yeah, because there's so much
experience
going
the
on,
second time.
and having to think about it all at one time. Like,
Yeah,
if you didn't feel like you nailed it the first time, you're like, oh, well, I wasn't very good at it, so I'm not
right.
going to do it
You
again.
might not ever go
Exactly. So that's why I feel about it.
Yeah,
Just give it a second go.
yeah,
Like I did it the first time, and I was, oh, I'm rubbish at this. And then I've tried it again, and I'm like, actually, it's quite fun.
that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. Go back and try it again.
Yeah.
So would you recommend to anyone, Kate, to
Yeah.
try it more than once?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Don't be put off by how difficult it is the first time.
Yeah,
Especially
'cause
when you see on
it's completely
Instagram.
a feel thing, you
Yeah.
know. And if you just have to get a sense of it.
Especially when you see people on Instagram knocking them out looking
Yeah.
so effortless. How annoying is that?
Especially when the reels are sped up.
Yeah, it's like,
It's happening in 30 seconds.
Yeah,
yeah,
which it
exactly.
doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the conversations we had before us coming here, and a lot of the conversations that we've had whilst being here, you're obviously very, very family orientated, family before anything else. Being a maker, has that allowed you to be that way? Has that allowed you to really, feels like that's one of the main things of being a maker, is it allows you to build out your own schedule. How do you feel about that? Is that, was that one of the motivators maybe?
I feel grateful for the space to be able to make those decisions. I think if I was juggling full-time job, I mean, homeschooling is a full-time job.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more flexible than like a 9-to-5 would be.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility and valuing flexibility as a family, we like to travel, we like to have sort of out of the box experiences and different, try different things and show different things to our kids. And so we already value that flexibility, and then just making decisions around that, being able to scale up if I want to, or scale back if I need to. Yeah.
And how's that affected if you do get bigger orders in? Do you build your orders and build your, you say there scale up, do you build your scalability around what's going on with the family primarily?
Yeah, pretty much. And how much time I feel like I can give to it at that point. So generally I'll say, an order will take 4 to 6 weeks. If I get a huge order, like it's been, we want 150 mugs, I'll say, okay, that's probably going to take me, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Just the pottery process is really long in the first place. And then, that's been kind of hard sometimes to just figure out, to judge how much time it's going to take to do something, to complete something.
Yeah.
And then, but that's been kind of good. It's good to have a little bit of pressure. to do
Yeah,
it,
it is.
to get
Yeah,
it
it
done.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. As long as it
So-
doesn't feel too much like a 9 to 5 after that.
Yeah,
know?
and I've, it's never a perfect balance, I don't think, but I learn from every experience too. So if I felt really stressed out by one thing, I think, okay, maybe next time I would approach it a little differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a way to do it.
Yeah. How would you approach an order like that, such a big order? Like for someone who's not done any pottery, the thought of sitting down and trying to do 100 to 150 mugs is just mind-boggling by hand.
Well, I mean, everything goes in cycles. There's the making and then the drying, putting handles on is in between there, and then firing once, and then glazing, firing again. So usually I can do it in batches, kind of.
Right.
So I'll sit down and in 2 or 3 hours make, 30 to 50 of the mug bodies, and then
Nice.
by the time I come in the next time, they're dry enough to put the handles on. When I'm doing it at home, then I'm just like, okay, kids, we're having an outside day today. You can grab some clay if you want to, So, yeah.
That's
Just
great.
doing it in batches, though, helps with getting them all done.
Yeah, I can imagine it's quite a daunting task if there's 150. Because, like you say,
Yeah.
there's only so much space in the kiln. There's only so much space at your place you could do them. So batching them down makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I might say, I'll get 50 to you now. I'll get 50 to you in, a month or whatever. And then another 50,
Yeah.
do it that way.
Are these
So-
like wholesale orders, or are they?
Yeah, I used to sometimes do like, I'll make a bunch and then as you sell them, you pay me, but
Okay.
that didn't work out so well in the first couple times I tried it. So just being able to put parameters around it, like I won't take a commission unless we've decided on a wholesale price, and I'm and you pay me up front for it, and
These
then
are
you
the
can
things
do
to
whatever
learn,
you
yeah.
want with those pieces. But
Yeah.
That's their pieces at that point. If they double the money on it, great, but you've still been paid.
yeah,
Is that what you would recommend to any other fledgling potters as well?
I mean that's what's worked for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you're putting out so much effort
Yep.
and expense to create the pieces. But yeah,
And then you're
I've kind
relying
of
on
backed
someone.
off of larger orders though.
Okay.
Just because of feeling like I don't have that kind of time, I guess.
Right.
I have some other interests and in pottery that I want to pursue, and ideas for using more local materials and just creating some interesting stuff. So still working on that, but so I have kind of backed off of taking commissions. I have a couple of running commissions that I can do just whenever I have the time, and that's really nice to have that flexibility too. But yeah.
And we talked earlier, a lot of local hospitality places, coffee shops and stuff seem to be a big supporter. That must be quite important from you from a business side of you. It seems like places in the south in general, I'm going to continue to gush on the south because we are infatuated with it right now. The hospitality places seem really good for supporting them. Even Tracy that we stayed with originally, the local barbecue places commissioning her to do stuff, and that it seems to be a really good
Collaboration.
business to small maker collaboration, as Kate says.
Yeah.
That seems to work really well here. Would you agree? Is that
Absolutely, yeah.
And
That's
it's something
been
you've
huge for
seen?
me. Just
And did they
meeting
approach you?
Well, some of them, yeah. So one coffee shop, I know the owners, and so they were like, hey, if you ever, we heard you're making pottery, if you ever want to try out your stuff in our shop, and that kind of grew to a regular thing, and where they're really supportive of whatever I want to make for them. And then another coffee shop in town just came across me. I'm not sure exactly how, maybe by word of mouth, maybe Instagram, and asked me to do some mugs for them. So just, local people supporting other local people. It's been amazing. Yeah.
It's quite important what you said there as well about being able to just do what you want to do, isn't it? You know, a lot of people, I'm not a maker, so I don't know for sure, but I feel a lot of people get trapped into, oh, it's a big order, I'll take it. But they're just producing someone else's vision, not their own vision. You know, it feels like you've built a style and a worth in your own making that you're like, is that something you had to concentrate a lot on doing, or is it something that's just always kind of came?
Yeah, I think especially at the beginning when I was still trying to find what I liked to make, I would try all kinds of things and try stuff that other people wanted me to do, or just trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten more comfortable with how I want to do things, how I like to do things, how I, the forms that I like to create and what they end up looking like, or even having the freedom to try something different if I wanted to. It's been good to be clear about that up front with people who are interested in doing a commission, so that they can know what to expect, I guess. And so that I can be honest about, I would love to do this for you. This is the kind of thing that I already do. Maybe I make a prototype for them and say, is this what you're looking for? If not, then that's okay.
Yeah, that's something that's still stylistically yours, isn't it? You want somebody to be able to recognise your stuff from a mile off. You don't want that. And I know people have fallen foul of it before. This is what we've seen. Can you make this? Oh yeah, we can make that for a.
Yeah, and I do that too for friends, or if somebody.
I hesitate to say to do it for a quick buck or a quick paycheck, because ultimately we all need to pay our bills. Of course we do, but there's a worth in sticking to your guns, I feel, and being like, no, this is my style. This is what I do, and it seems to be you've found a really nice style that's always been yours, and that's what people are coming to you for now. You seem, from what we can see, certainly through Instagram and stuff, that's your style. Do you know what I mean? And people are appreciating that. I think that's got a lot of worth.
It's hard to define it maybe because I'm still kind of exploring sometimes. But yeah, I think that's true that people come to me now for commissions because they see what I've already done. Yeah. It's nice to have that gallery in a sense.
Portfolio on Instagram.
And when you started, was this always the style you were pursuing, or how's that evolved over the years?
I mean, I've always enjoyed imperfect things, so that, I guess I've grown into that in pottery as well as in the other areas of my life. But for a while I was doing a lot of texture, so it's changed over the years. But I think I have always loved simple things. The simplicity of a beautiful form that's just itself, not too much altered. And then mixing my own glazes was a huge thing for finding a style that I enjoyed, because I could.
Glazes is a whole other thing, is it not?
It is a whole other thing.
Yeah, explain that. So again, we don't know nearly as in depth about glazes or pottery. Full stop. But it seems to be that every fledgling startup pottery, that's like the big goal, getting to a point where they make their own glazes. One, how do you even go about making your own glaze, and why do you think that's so important to potters?
I mean, I was, and sometimes still am, happy to just have a glaze that's pre-made, but I think there's something to sort of being a mad scientist, mixing the things together and seeing what comes of it. There's a lot of nuance in glaze, so a gram or two of difference in the amount of a certain mineral that you mix in might make a completely different glaze.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's just exciting. I think I don't know everything there is to know about making glazes, but I've done a lot of testing with the glazes that I use regularly, and found some base glazes that fit my clay really well. And one is kind of a more glossy finish, and another one is the matte, not as shiny. And I really like the matte glaze because it feels like it's not a glass on top of the clay. It almost melds with the clay. You know, it has a similar texture to the clay. So I really like that. And that's what I'm working on building out now, is more of a selection of matte glazes that I can use on my pots, and also trying to incorporate maybe a little bit of local clay that I've been digging. And yeah, it's just a totally different kind of exploration. There are so many possibilities too, you know. So maybe that's what's appealing about glaze mixing to potters, is that they can really find that thing that they
feel as their own.
That specific thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So glaze is not just the colour though, is it? Like you've just said there, it's the texture and the final appearance with regards to matte. And you said minerals. How do you even go, I know nothing about this. Like how do you even, I'm intrigued also, how do you even go about building, what is a glaze built up out of, I suppose is the question.
So a glaze has a couple of different components depending on what you're trying to go for, but usually it includes some kind of clay, and then the other minerals have to do with the final result that you are looking for. So some have potash, some have feldspar, some, you know, there are different mixtures that create a different effect once you've fired it. So I'm trying to think of how to explain it without getting into super technical terms, which I'm not even an expert in glaze making. I honestly have just found a few recipes, tried, you know, probably 100 different recipes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mixing different ingredients, and yeah, just trying to find what works with my specific clay, because each clay body is different to the amount it shrinks and what its final firing temperature is. And you have to find a glaze that fits, otherwise you'll get crazing, cracking in the glaze. And yeah, so it's a lot of factors, but the glaze mixture is dry ingredients. It's kind of like baking. You use a scale, you measure the dry ingredients. You have to wear a big mask thing so you don't inhale everything. And then you mix it with water. And I can show you too how to glaze a pot. But
so
generally it goes on wet. Right. It goes on bisqueware, which is the once fired already.
And this is the point where
you can glaze a piece without it being fired at all yet, but it's just more fragile at that point. So firing it once to a lower temperature gets it to the point where it's not going to turn back into clay. You can apply a glaze to it; it's still really porous, so the glaze goes on really nicely. And then it dries, and then you fire it again.
So this is the point. The stuff that we're looking at behind you. This is the point that, you know, potters have been telling us, like, it's non-recyclable at this point, is it? So once it's been fired, it's you've dried it out, and that's the point you would attach a glaze to it.
So this has no more even chemically bound water in the pot at all anymore.
And will different glazes take to different clays? You know, if you had the exact same glaze on two different types of clay, or even at different firing temperatures or different stages, would they all come out to look different?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you're trying...
So the same glaze on... one of my favorite glazes is a kind of greenish, grayish, depending on how thick it's applied and depending on where it is in the kiln. You know, there are some like hot spots in the kiln where it changes the color a little bit when it's fired. But it looks completely different on white clay as opposed to the red clay. So those are generally the two clays that I use the most. And on the white clay, it turns very gray. And on the brown clay, the red clay, it kind of gets a lot more green hues. So,
what's the difference between the two different clays?
One of them has, I'm not sure exactly what the mixture is. It's manufactured in Austin, and I've been to the spot a couple of times, but I know that the red clay has more iron in it.
Right.
That's what gives it the sort of brownish red color.
And does it work differently?
Does it
when you're working
when
it?
I'm
Does it
throwing
work
it?
differently?
No, they both have a pretty consistent texture.
Okay.
Different clays do work differently though. Like a porcelain is a lot more smooth, a lot more, I would say finicky. Maybe you can throw it thinner, but it's more likely to collapse. Maybe it's not as strong. It doesn't have as much of the sandy material. It's a lot more like a pure clay.
Oh, okay. So there really is a lot of different ways you could, and probably hence why so many different.
Yeah.
You know, there's a load of potters out there, but all of them
And
still
all
seem to
their
be
work
very
looks
unique.
different.
Yeah. That must be quite encouraging as a either start-up potter or someone quite far down their journey now, knowing that there is a lot of different people out there, but you are still all very, very unique in what you do.
And how did you learn? Was it self-taught or did you take classes yourself?
I did take a class in high school, and then I mentioned earlier that I joined a Potter's Guild in Alberta. And that's kind of where I would say I learned pottery. I got a taste of it in this class in high school. And I got a lot of encouragement from the instructor who was like, you know, your pots look like they're, you know, they have a certain liveliness to them, I guess. So you should do this again, you know.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. And then I didn't do it again for like a year or two. But in Alberta, the Potter's Guild was kind of like this. It was a community art space, and there were a couple of retired potters hanging out there. And so they weren't shy about telling me what I was doing wrong.
Oh, right. Oh, well.
When I was there practicing. And yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I welcomed their feedback and learned a lot from them. There were a couple who were university profs, and there were a couple who had been commercial potters. So I got both sides of the, you know, like very artistically minded and sort of also technically minded, and then the folks who were like, this is how to make 50 bowls in a run and get them all looking
The same.
similar, you know. Yeah.
That sounds like a good place to be for someone
It was
starting.
a good place to be, yeah. And then there was another community spot. We've moved around quite a bit, so and it's in this community kind of space setting that I found a lot of teachers.
Okay.
And then now I've kind of become a
One of them
teacher as
yourself.
well. Yeah. So
Sharing the skill set.
yeah.
Do you
So
think,
when we moved here, I think I was, from that point, I was mostly self-directed. You know, I never had classes where I was trying to produce a certain kind of work for a grade. But I was very hard on myself, maybe, and really wanted to get better at making pots. And so I practiced a lot. I gave a lot of things away, and really
Seems to
tried
be
to
the thing,
just spend
like,
a lot of time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to get a feel for exactly how to make the clay do what you want it to do, or how to follow it, you know, with whatever it's doing. So yeah,
I feel
practicing.
like anyone that's buying their first house or trying to furnish a house or get plateware, befriend a starting potter. Because either the people that we know that have friends that are start-out potters, or the start-out potters that we know, everything seems to like be given away.
Yeah.
It seems to just be like whole houses furnished
Well, you
with
have
stuff.
to make so much, you know, and when you start out, I think I'm maybe less likely to keep something that I really didn't think worked out well than I was at the beginning. At the beginning, I was like, every pot is so precious, you know, I don't want to recycle it, or, you know, and once it's fired once, you can't go back to the clay. So I've gotten a lot better at letting go of things that I really don't think worked out. And that's not too often. But yeah, I still make mistakes, and
That's okay.
I often embrace the mistakes, but there are some times when I'm just like, no, this did not.
This is too big a mistake.
This is too much.
Yeah. So you alluded earlier at some other things you're experimenting with. Is that time that you've set aside on top of all the other stuff, the homeschooling and that, you just say like, this is the time I'm going to experiment with, or has it just been an itch that's in the back of your head that you've wanted to try out?
Yeah, it has been in the background for a while. I think I've always had the specific time that I spend on pottery, whatever
Yep.
it is that I choose to do during that time. And so this year it's just been making that choice to not take as many commissions, not do as many shop updates. You know, like I have an online shop, and
Yep.
I've been regularly updating that, you know, which regularly for me is like twice a year.
Yeah.
But just deciding to give myself a little space from that to be able to spend the time doing this other stuff that I'm
Nice.
working on. So I've been working on getting lots of bisqueware, and then testing some new glazes, and trying to figure out how to incorporate the local clay into either the glaze or as a slip decoration on the outside.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see where that
Yeah.
goes. I'm still working on it.
And is your online store the main place that's your main income from all this, is the online store? And of
Yeah, I
course
would
the commission
say it's
stuff.
like half commissions and online shop in terms of pottery sales. Yeah. And even the online shop is a lot of locals.
Oh, really? Okay.
But maybe like 40% elsewhere, and then 60% local folks who pick it up.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes you just need to start local, and then it gradually
Hey, starting
builds.
local's great.
Yeah.
Like there's always this want to go as big as you can from the start, and especially with things like social media and e-commerce being so readily available. You can set up an e-commerce site like
Yeah,
that in an
it's
evening. There's so many platforms to make it so easy.
Yes.
But the reality is, just starting local, there's enough people, especially with like pottery and stuff. Like everyone needs a mug.
Yeah.
You know, everyone needs a mug, so there's going to be plenty of people locally that are going to, and it feels like having stuff like using local clays is only going to enforce that.
Yeah.
You know, local clays made in Waco. You know, people from Waco must like that.
Yeah.
How do you drive your traffic? You're primarily through Instagram. Is that how you're driving your traffic to? Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you found that?
I
as a
do
journalist?
have an email newsletter, but even that is mostly fed from people who find me through Instagram.
Right.
So yeah, mostly it's just trying to post regularly, trying to respond to people if
That's the hard part.
they comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Instagram's this double-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, we talk about it with everybody, and we talked about it earlier today. It is amazing because you can get your stuff out to anybody, but it's also really hard to get noticed on it because there is so much of it. So, because I noticed you've not got a massive following when you look at the numbers, but when you look through, like the correlation between your likes and followers or your comments on it, you seem to have a really active Instagram, where the followers might not be high, but you seem to have a lot of engagement with people. Keeping personable like that, do you think that's because of the locality of what you do?
I think so. So far, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it has been people who hear about me through maybe seeing my stuff at the coffee shop, or finding one of my classes online, or taking a class, or a friend took a class, or also different connections with people who use my work or have bought my work and then share about it. So yeah, a lot of just really organic kind of growth, I guess. And I haven't had the energy or the time to figure out, you know, how to
It's a
make
full-time
other
job.
kinds of growth happen. So
It's
I've
a
just been
full-time
kind
job.
of letting it be what it is, and it's been really great so far.
There's a lot of good advice in that. Just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
Don't
Stop
chase
trying
the
to force
algorithm.
it,
Don't
or-
force it. You know, we tried to do it for so long. We were like, we need to post this day, this day, and this day.
Yeah.
And actually, we kind of came to the conclusion the other night in the car that Instagram is just a notice board for us. If we're doing something cool, we'll post it.
Yeah.
If we're not, then we're not going to. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Although the algorithm's probably going to tell us it's not fine. But
I think planning is good, but can also be quite stressful. I think being more organic with just when you post, and post when you want, post what you want. You know, it doesn't have to be this finished thing
Yeah.
like that we're all feel like we're forced to do.
yeah.
You know?
Well, it can
That's the
absolutely
thing
hinder
too,
you.
just like for a while I was trying to figure out, you know, how do I get more traction here? But then I found myself trying to make more content when I wasn't really, you know, I want to put out there what I want out there, you know, and if I feel like something's not ready to share, but I feel pressure to share it, then I used to do it anyway, and now I'm like, no, I'm just gonna hold off. You know?
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as I say, it might not get you on the algorithm like so many of us are chasing, but the reality is, if it means you can do it for longer because you're not stressing yourself out, that's a more sustainable approach, you know. And I think
and when
a lot
I
of
make
makers,
connections with people, you know, with specific people who are doing a specific thing or appreciating my work for what it is and actually wanting to share it with people, that's given me a lot more growth. That's like, it makes a difference in my business or in my sales or in how I am putting my work out there. So,
yeah. So what advice would you give to someone else that was in the position you were in when you started it? You know, maybe a lot of people that listen to this are people that are right on the fence about starting or keeping their day job. They're really on the fence. What would be your advice to that?
I mean, I am keeping my day job in a way, but I think that once you find what you really like to make, and if you can build a bit of community around that, a bit of interest around that, and get comfortable in your own work, that's the point at which you can put it out there as it is, and the people who enjoy it or like it or want it will come and get it. So I don't know. I mean, everybody's life is different. Everybody's situation is different. So I've been grateful to be able to grow and keep my growth sustainable, you know, and also be doing other things that I care about.
How did you said there, you know, you've got to a point where you're happy with your work. How did you get to a point where you're happy with your work? You know, a lot of makers will chase that all their life, and it feels like from the few conversations we've had, you're really happy with what you're putting out. Obviously there's still growth to be done and you're experimenting with that, but how did you get to a point where you were just happy with your work?
I mean, I've always loved the process, and so the process is a huge part of it for me. I like the things that I'm making, in part because I've gotten to the point where I'm good enough at it that I'm happy with the quality of it, you know, in my own judgment, I guess. I don't know what other people would feel about it, but and just getting to the space where I'm embracing what comes. I don't know. Finding forms that I enjoy growing, or finding a style that I like. I still toss something if I really don't like it, but it's hard to say. There are lots of things that I would try maybe if I had the space, but I guess it's about making decisions too, about you know, how much I would want to spend time on chasing down a different kind of work. I think though that the style that I'm making in right now is just a reflection of what I'm interested in and what you know, what I enjoy, the things that inspire me, and I'm trying to just let it flow out from there. You know?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I'm a big advocate for when you're buying from a maker, you're buying a portion of their life. You know, you're buying a chunk of their time. So, and I personally agree exactly what you've said, that the most important thing you can do is just do what you like doing. You know, Holly Cooper said it very well. She was trying to make ceramics. Holly Cooper's one of the early podcasts we done. She's a ceramicist in Preston, England, so it's like halfway down the country. And we seen her. And when we first spoke to her, in our first edition.
Yep.
Compared to when we spoke to her a year and a half later when we started the podcast. Her work had changed drastically. And it was all because she'd realised to just do what she enjoyed. You know, she'd got to a point where she was making stuff that was selling, all well and good.
Yeah.
But she was starting to not enjoy the making because
It
she
wasn't
was...
her.
Yeah, she was making...
Well, and when it's not a true reflection of who you are, especially for makers, I mean, maybe people feel this way about day jobs too, you know?
Yeah.
If you're not able to put yourself into it, then it's not as fulfilling. It's not
Exactly.
as
You're not going to get the same.
and it's not as interesting.
Okay.
The product is not as interesting
Yeah.
either. You know, it's more just like after a trend or what people see on Instagram. Or,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, the polished highlight reel that is
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah. So, what do you think's next for your pottery? We talked about you're doing the glazes. Have you got anything else in line? Have you got? It's that sort of cliche question: the 5-10 year roadmap.
Yeah.
Or are you just quite happy where you are just now to keep doing it? You've got your priorities very clearly family and homeschooling, and that's a massive priority. Pardon me, but what does the future look like for your pottery? Do you think?
It's hard to say, but I do love what I'm doing now. I sometimes wonder if some of these ideas that I'm working on would translate more into sculpture type creations. But I really don't know. I mean, I would love someday to try some wood firing, maybe try to build a kiln. My husband is a builder. He has a lot of experience with that kind of thing. So yeah,
Having your
maybe
own
we
kiln
would
would be
try
pretty cool.
that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I was very impressed with Bert, and by the way, Bert's a great guy. Bert the Potter, he's based in Wales. We done a podcast with him. Bert the Potter on Instagram. If you're looking to build your own kiln,
Yeah.
shout him up because he's a really nice guy.
He talked about like having like a web blog on how to do it.
Yeah, I think he might have done it.
Did he?
I think he might have wrote it all up, or it was definitely on his to-do list to write it all up how
I'll
he done
look
it.
into it,
So
yeah.
yeah, you should look into it. I think he done his gas
Okay. Yeah.
and he built it in a
That's
shipping
the other
container.
thing, you know, getting into that kind of thing is a whole
Yeah.
new learning curve.
Yeah. But that's the other thing with the potting community is it seems quite community minded. You know, you all feed off each other, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
In fact, in America in general, we've noticed that.
It's pretty open source. Even the glaze recipes that I have tried and then sort of tweaked a little bit, I'm sure my tweaks are out there somewhere that somebody else has already done. You know, I don't think that I'm doing anything specifically unique necessarily, but the glaze recipes were just found online. You know, a lot of potters are really generous with their resources, their knowledge, and just helping each other.
That's brilliant. That's ace. That's a nice community to be part of, for sure.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm conscious of time, but we've asked you loads of questions. Is there anything we've not asked that you want to cover while you're here?
I don't know.
Well, have a think about it, because Kate's got her final closing question.
Yeah.
Okay.
What advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self. I don't know. I think, you know, my younger self was sort of all over the place in terms of interest and trying different things, and I've kind of zoned in now on pottery, but I don't think it was a bad thing to
experiment with
explore and
lots of different
experiment.
things,
Yeah. And I still have so many of those very amateur skills that I enjoy sharing with my kids and, you know, teaching other people. I've done different kinds of workshops with different community or friends.
Nice.
But yeah, my younger self, I would say don't worry so much about what other people think.
It's also a good
I'm
one.
sure that people say that.
Yeah, that's
all
a
the
common
time.
one. That's a common one.
It's true though.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah.
I would, that's advice I'd give my younger self as well.
Yeah.
Would be not to care too much about what other people think.
Yeah, we've always talked about that being the real superpower outside the Marvel movies. The real superpower is just don't care what other people think, because how far you can get by just not caring. Because ultimately you've got to make your own mistakes to find out who you are.
Yeah.
I think that's quite important.
Yeah.
Ace, well, you seem very happy in what you're doing. We're really glad we could
And
catch up with
thank
you
you
in
for
Waco.
showing me some
Thank
more
you so
pottery.
much,
I
Brian.
really enjoyed it.
good.
I did.
I'm
I didn't
so
think
glad
I
you
was going
tried
to, because after the last time I was like, because you did quite well actually the last time, and I was like, oh, he's good
I
at
done
this
quite
one.
well on. I done quite well on the wheel.
Yeah.
But I was terrible on that kick wheel. That was hard. I found that
You
very
were going
difficult.
too fast.
There we are, going too quick. Whereas you really picked up the kick wheel, didn't you?
Yeah.
I
You
like,
much prefer
I like
it.
the more peaceful aspect
Pace.
of it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
me.
We need to get you a soundproof room and a kick wheel in it.
Yeah, just block the whole world out. That's what's quite nice about it as well. It's like you
Yeah.
just
I like being outside too, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I hear the birds and the breeze and the rain,
yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a nice setup.
the
Exactly.
traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks
I'm
again.
glad you both tried it.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It's fun.
So quickly before we round up, where do people find out about you, find out about your classes? You know, like I was saying to you, we had people that were with just yesterday that were asking about your classes. So where do people find out about all that, about what you're offering?
Yeah. I usually post on Instagram if something specific is happening, but I always send out an email newsletter first. So if people want to go on my website, it's www.koppertceramics.com.
And it's Koppert, is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Koppert.
ERT.
Yeah. And then, if you sign up for my email newsletter there, you get all the usual updates. And then I've been trying to send out more regular emails lately.
It's hard though.
Yeah.
It's a whole job in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially with all of this kind of exploring that I've been doing in the last couple months, there's not a lot of content to show on Instagram, so I haven't been posting there quite as much, but I've been trying to send out more emails with just process and
Yeah.
Nice.
Information.
yeah.
Brilliant.
So, and that's where I always send info about classes, and my classes are always posted on my website too. So, yeah,
Brilliant.
Amazing.
my shop's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Okay, go buy mugs.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's wrap it up at that. We need to get you back to the kids. Thank you
Yeah.
so
So
much
much.
for your time. I've
Yeah.
really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. It's been great. And thanks for
I've
showing
loved
Kate
meeting you
about
both.
Yeah.
it.
Thanks.